Hi guys. I have found lately on YouTube these things called bookshelf tours, and a lot of people do them, I think, in the YA reading community, but and a lot of people who collect books, which I don't really collect books so much. We just moved not too long ago, and so I was really thoughtful about what I was going to keep and what I was going to donate. So I wanted to give you a little walk through my bookshelves because I love them dearly. They are built in and they were here when we got here, and I'm just lucky to have them. So first shelf, I have my study Bible and I have my hymnal. And the hymnal I actually got when we were reviewing hymnals for our church. I was the music director at the time, or the, I guess, choir director. So I got to kind of be part of the study and planning and thought behind the hymns in that one. So that's a really interesting one. I made this little felt cover for it. You can't really see, it's the same color. It's kind of a cranberry. And I put these little ribbon markers in there. And then I have this sweet, sweet heart-shaped rock that I found at the beach because you can always find heart-shaped rocks. So on the rest of this shelf, first of all, the annotated Alice. So this was actually out of print for a while. I got this as a birthday present this year. It's the 150th anniversary edition. And I don't really love the fact that it's red. I liked the old cover more, but I'm so glad to have a new copy. My old copy got kind of moldy and musty and gross, but if you're ever looking for something really interesting to read, the Annotated Alice, it shares a lot of Lewis Carroll's kind of thinking behind how he came up with the characters and the words and the story, and it's pretty fascinating. So I highly recommend that. This is a cool book that I got for free. So because I work at a library, sometimes we get a lot of donations that we can't necessarily use in our collection. And sometimes I can snag a good one that I've been hoping to get. So this was a donation, and it's a series of photographs of librarians and their stories. And they are not what you would think of as the typical librarian look. So it's really interesting to kind of pick up and flip through. I have a few, well, we have Paddington here. That's kind of unrelated, but Winnie the Pooh books. I am a huge fan of A.A. Milne. I used to memorize his poems, and I just really, I've read the books over and over and over again. And the really special one that I have here is this upside down one, Pooh der Bear, and it's in German. It's from Germany. My friend got it for me in high school when he was on a trip to Germany, so that's a really special one for me. Of course, I pre-ordered this. I was so excited that they were publishing it as a book, and I love the work that they did with the cover. It's just really lovely to have that reminder of the inaugural poem that Amanda Gorman did. Love it. And so here we have two more little poetry books, of course, from my childhood. Shel Silverstein. I also memorized a lot of his poems. Being a theater kid, sometimes you had to memorize poems and pieces for auditions, sorry. And so those are always fun ones to do. I kind of liked that. And then, so below here, the next section is mostly psychology, therapy, some treatment stuff. I did a therapy program, and the therapist that I was working with actually recommended a book by Irving Yalom. I'm not sure which one it was. I actually ended up reading all of his books. Very, very interesting stories about therapy, and he has a very interesting perspective. So we have some books about chronic suicidal ideation, which is something that I live with, and it's very challenging. So when I find a book about that, I'm into it. And just some kind of general books, attachment disorders. This is on the mindfulness spectrum, full catastrophe living. All kinds of different kind of approaches and thoughts about treatment. BPD survival guide, some cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy. There are different approaches. I learned a lot from doing them, but they weren't necessarily the best treatment for me. But you take a little bit from every kind of therapy you do, and you learn a little bit the whole way. So there's my psychology books. And then most important to me right now, we have the Kristen Neff books. So Kristen Neff did a lot of research on self-compassion, and she was researching at the University of Texas in Austin. And this was her first book, I think. This is the first book that I got from her, was self-compassion. And then Fierce Self-Compassion actually just came out this year. So I highly recommend reading those. She also has an audiobook that is basically meditations and then just some kind of in-between discussion of her thoughts on self-compassion, how you can use it to improve your way that you talk to yourself and your way that you treat yourself. If you have like problems with being angry with yourself or not being happy with what you're doing, or you get really stuck in that kind of feelings, I highly recommend her work. So yeah, this one I'm so excited. I haven't read it yet, but I did get it. I pre-ordered it when I saw it was coming out, so it was kind of a surprise when it came in a couple months ago. And then here's just this random shelf that kind of has nothing on it except these absolutely adorable little pink bowls that I love so much. And first I found these little rocks to put in it. I don't know. And that's my Nana. That's my mom's mom. And she passed away in 1996 in my senior year of high school. And I love that picture of her. I think she looks so beautiful in it. So I keep that right there to look at as well. And then here's the scary stuff. I have a basket of tech stuff, just all those little bits and bobs that you have, chargers and things, my headphones, and then, yes, these are my notebooks of shame. I buy notebooks compulsively, like literally because of my OCD. I do, that's one of the compulsions that I have, and I get, it's problematic, but I'm doing better with that. And then just, again, like random things. I don't know, because what do you do with random things? I have no idea. But this corner also has my kitty stuff. So this is her favorite toy. And she's got this scratcher thing that has balls in it. And it also has catnip in here. And then her little hut. She's scared of everything, so I'm trying to get her a nice place to have her own kind of area and peace and know that she can hide in there. So I've been loading that up with catnip and cat treats, and she's starting to really use it a little bit, which I find really lovely. It makes me happy for her. And then she has an obsession with these two pillows. They lived in my car for a year because I didn't have a couch to put them on. And then I brought them in because they were getting faded from the sun. And I put them out and my cat just went bananas over them. So I have put them in a basket here in her little corner, and she climbs up between them and like loses her mind. I don't know. It's really adorable. And then there's a little treat back here. This is my first vision board, and I love it. It really means a lot to me. And I thought that I would make them kind of regularly and kind of update what my vision is, but this one has stuck around, and it's been rained on, and it's been taken places and brought back home and hung up and fallen down, but it's definitely still the most meaningful to me. So that one is sticking around, and that just kind of sits over here as a little bit of a reminder. So the next, let's see, let's go. Here's some more storage. I love storage. I buy a lot of storage and then I never know what to put in it. So those are actually full, which is good. I have this sweet, oh, you can see my light in the background. I have this sweet picture that I took at Williamsburg. I love going on vacation to historical places, and Williamsburg is by far my favorite place that I've been. There are other places that I want to go, but you know, I took this picture, I love it, and now I can't find any of my files of the photos that I took during that trip, so I'm really glad to have this one. And so I used to have tons and tons of cookbooks, but you don't pull them out that often. They're usually kind of, I like to call them food porn, because you mostly want to flip through them and get ideas and look at the amazing pictures, and then you don't often follow through with making the things. So these are some of my favorites. My brother got me an amazing slow cooker for Christmas. So he also gave me this America's Test Kitchen. I live alone, so cooking for two is about as close as I can get to cooking for one. It's really hard. Not recommended, but I do have this cookbook. I used to bake all the time, so I have this really neat book of cupcakes that I got for really cheap. It was one of those bargain ones at Barnes & Noble, and I picked it up, and it has some great ideas in it. Jamie's Food Revolution. I don't make a ton from this. Actually, I should go back and flip through it, but it does have the perfect recipe for hard-boiled and soft-boiled eggs, so I keep that one around. I will probably keep that one around forever because it has that information in it. But look, I tore the top of it because I tend to grab books off the shelf by pulling from the top. Don't do that, it ruins your books. This has a few good vegetarian recipes in it. I picked it up at BJ's, so I got a good price on that. Here is a library discard, I think. This is an outstanding book if you're looking for quick and easy things that don't have a lot of complicated ingredients or anything like that. So that's a great one if you just want, you know, simple food. This one I read part of it. It's not just a cookbook, it's got all kinds of stuff in it, but I always tell myself I'm going to go back and finish reading it. And of course, Mark Bittman, Food Matters, because that's kind of a staple. So speaking of storage, these are those like fake book storage boxes from Michael's. Not even sure what's really in there at this point, but there they are. They take up the space and they hold some mystery items that I look through every once in a while. Okay, so these have an interesting story. This one I just got. It's about dictionary writers, I think. I just snagged that one from the cart, from the free cart. That was a donation as well. Birds, because I used to love watching birds at my dad's bird feeder back at our old house, but I don't have a bird feeder here. Excuse me, here, because I'm on the second floor, so I use that kind of as reference, but I will always keep a book of birds because they're so cool, and I always want to know what kinds of birds they are. Two more donation books. These are the Oprah Winfrey books that she came out with a couple years ago, and they just have little quotes and bits, and let me see if I can open one up for you. So from famous folks that Oprah has interviewed, she just kind of takes little bits of their interviews, turns them into quotes, puts them beautifully on the page, and it's nice to have to flip through when you kind of need a little bit of a boost. So here's a funny story. First of all, this is only volume 1 and I really need to get volume 2, but I know that it's a different cover design now, so I'm kind of bummed about that. This is the Barnes & Noble edition. The other day, someone came into the library and said, who is the best mystery writer? And so for me, I said right off the bat, if you're going to say best, it's going to be Agatha Christie, right? So I said that, and then she said, okay, well, who after that? And I said, Arthur Conan Doyle, because I have read the complete works of Sherlock Holmes, and I've also read probably about 70% of the Agatha Christie books, I think. I prefer Poirot and Sherlock Holmes, but, you know, there's other stuff. And as soon as I said, you know, the Sherlock Holmes stories, she said, oh my God, those are so traditional. And I thought, well, you know, there's nothing wrong with traditional books that have excellent writing, excellent storytelling. And I use the kind of thought process behind Sherlock Holmes for a lot of stuff in my life. I find it really interesting. I think that Arthur Conan Doyle did a great job of really giving you all of the answers that you need to solve mysteries right there in the story, and you can go back and piece it all together. And then this one, last book on the shelf, word by word translations. This is Shep and Coffin, and this is the second book, Italian Songs and Arias. And I used that book in college and grad school. I think I had I had part 1 of the Italian ones, and I also had a couple other German translation books, as well as a whole bunch of Italian, German, Russian dictionaries, Italian, German, Russian, French dictionaries, transliterations, IPA books, and stuff like that. And so this is kind of like a memory for me. I'm not going to go back and read Shep and Coffin and look up word by word translations of stuff, but that's definitely a memory. And then the top shelf here is a mishmash, but it's all got a story. Okay, so these are currently my photo albums. I've been trying to get pictures put in albums because they feel nicer to look through than a bunch of files online. The Adventure Zone, I love the McElroy brothers. I've been listening to them since the very beginning of their show, My Brother, and Me. And then they started this D&D series called The Adventure Zone. And after several years of that, they actually came out with graphic novels, and they're drawn by Carrie Peach. She is outstanding. If you ever get a chance to look at her work, definitely check it out. So this is the first book, Here There Be Gerblins, and this is the most recent book, which I got in hardcover, that just came out, I think, on Tuesday or the Tuesday before. The Crystal Kingdom is my favorite story arc, so I'm really looking forward to reading through that. And also, I think at the same time, I will go back and listen to the podcast episodes. So I obviously need to get 2 and 3 that go in the middle here. So that's that space holder right there. And then here we have some kind of interesting just books that I've liked. Alan Bradley's series, Flavia de Luce, so good. Again, kind of that science-y mystery stuff. Highly recommend. Of course, Agatha Christie. I have an interest in true crime. So this is The Devil in the White City about H.H. Holmes, and it's written by Eric Larson, who is really outstanding nonfiction writer who kind of does a great job of telling the story. The Chronicles of Narnia. I actually used this copy to teach my 8th grade ESL students, we did Chronicles of Narnia. It's such a lovely story, and it's a great one to read when you want winter to come around. So I might dip back into that one again soon. Here are 2 books from college that were really helpful. A Soprano on Her Head is fascinating, and it kind of looks at different discoveries that people have made along their journey. And The Inner Voice by Renee Fleming. Renee Fleming is my favorite soprano, along with Dawn Upshaw. And so this is a memoir from her, and there's a lot of really good information in there too. So I'd highly recommend both of those. I think so far I've highly recommended everything on my shelves, but you know, that's the way it is. The 13th Tale was actually a book that I found on my dad's nightstand. So my dad died of cancer 13 years ago, I think. And I had seen this one on his nightstand, and we didn't really read a lot of the same books. He read more sci-fi fantasy, and I didn't. But this one, I kept looking at it and saying, oh, that kind of looks really interesting. After he died, I ended up buying a copy of it, and I read it. And so that I will always remember as kind of a memory of something that my dad and I shared. These are just 2 kind of more recent thriller kind of novels. I like psychological thrillers. B.A. Paris is outstanding. I haven't read this Karen McManus book. Again, it's on the kind of to be read. Here's a wacky story. This is the last one from the shelf. So a couple years ago, around Christmas time, I got a package, and it had 3 books in it. It had 2 books. This book and another strange book that I knew I didn't order. It was about religion, and it just wasn't really my jam. And I couldn't figure out if someone had sent them to me, but my credit card was actually charged. And you wouldn't believe that the 2 books, very small, this one is tiny, were hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It was mind-boggling. And this author, quote-unquote author, Sarah Sandoval, had several books that were all running for hundreds of dollars each. And if you started reading the actual text, a lot of it doesn't make any sense at all. So I contacted Amazon, and I contacted my credit card company, and it took a lot of fighting for them to credit back the money, because they said my card had been charged. I had received the product, and because it was on a fake account that someone made using an old email address, I couldn't even get the information to return the books, because it was a very old email address. I didn't have access to it anymore. So I had to fight with them and explain to them that somebody had created a fake Amazon account using my credit card, using not my email address. So there was no way I could return the books. I couldn't get any information. So it took hours and hours of contacting people to get my money back. But this one, oh boy, I will keep this bad boy forever, because first of all, it's bananas, and second of all, the story is just a mind blower for me. So I'm gonna go get a drink of water. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm actually going to take a moment here to enjoy my weird bunnies that I have. The bunnies are actually Easter decorations, but they're so pretty, and I just haven't gotten around to changing them. And then I have these gifts. This one is a gift from someone who wanted to remind me that they're always there with me. and as well as this one. And I think last year, these ladies fell off the shelf and I cried a lot because I thought that I wasn't going to be able to repair them, but I did, thank God. One lost her head and this one lost her hands, but Gorilla Glue saved the day, and they are right back here where they belong, where I can look at them every single day. I love it, and it's a reminder that there are people out there thinking of me and rooting for me that will always be there. And I think what I'm going to do is call this video a day, because it has gotten to be almost half an hour long, and that's too much. So I will do another separate video for the other side of my bookshelf, and I'll post that maybe tomorrow. I'll try to film it today. That's much more arts and crafts and stuff. Anyway, we won't look at that. And we'll say hi to Zach. Hey, Zach. And, oh, I want to show you this, okay, before we go. So I have this sweet little monk riding on an elephant. I always love looking at Buddhas, but this one just was too precious, too precious. And it's a little box, and there's nothing in there because when I put stuff in there, I forget that it's there. So I keep that empty. It reminds me also of a trip that my mom and her husband took to India, and they rode elephants, which I have a lot of feelings about, but it kind of makes me think of that too. And I just love it so much. It's precious. And some plants that are miraculously still alive. I tend to kill plants, not because I want to, but because, I don't know, I just can't do it right. This one, pretty sad, but it's coming back. It was basically dead, so I'm hoping that it will kind of spring back to life. And then this is beautiful. This is actually, I just printed it off of Pinterest, I think. And it's a quote from Socrates, obviously, and it's so lovely. I do really strongly believe in curiosity and wonder and just kind of pausing to think about things that you wouldn't necessarily think about if you just went day to day without paying attention to anything. So that is my little bottom shelf. There's storage underneath, more storage boxes because you know I love them. And there's a Monet print in here from France that I can't get a frame for because it's not an American frame size. So that's that, and I'll be back with the other side next time. Bye.